wish you a wonderful afternoon. I have an important announcement, some housekeeping. There is a storm coming from Stuttgart towards our venue. So if it were to rain very heavily, please distribute among inside these tents and the buildings. Please just go out of the large open spaces and go into the halls. If it were to rain, it could start every minute, it's not safe, but still, if there is anything, please go into the cube, into the dome, into the cafe, please just distribute yourselves and go inside. So hopefully this will be over in a minute. So a big round of hands for our next speaker, Nina Strassner.
Ja, hallo.
Hello.
Ich meine, das mit dem Unwetter hätte man ja nicht besser koordinieren können.
Yeah, the storm comes right in the right for the right time. So I'm delighted to announce the next speaker.
Nach ihrem Abschluss auf
After graduating laws, she was committed for 10 years as a lawyer for labor rights. Before 2019, she entered the management of SAP.
Dort leitet sie diverse
She was responsible for copious diversity programs of the company of the group, especially for Germany. Since May 2022, she has been working on a global scale as in global initiatives with all the HR bosses of SAP, facing the challenges of cultural transformation. She is deputy chair of the several organizations for boosting labor rights with MHP. She has also been part of that. She has been an author of books. She comments regularly in the Wirtschaftswoche magazine, and she represents topics such as diversity, human relations, and staff programs like no one else. So she is a very motivating person, and this is how I got to know her. She's very inspiring, and she was born in Swabia, in the Swabian country, in Heidenheim. In Heidenheim, we also have a close relationship with the football club, but with her family, she is now living in Kiel, near to the Balkan Sea. So let's welcome today Nina Strassner.
Transformation
is made of courage. So, do you want to know what courage sounds? Then listen to your heart. If you want to know how courage feels, then just listen to your heart as well. I mean, you want to know where transformation is. Well, transformation, the part that you need to tackle, then listen to that. Listen to your heart. Where you feel, where you listen to, and your heart beats up. This is where your passion is. This is where your focus is. And these are the things that you need to take care of. Dare to care. We need to be bold to care. We need to dare to care, because then we will have a grip on the future for us and for those who we love. My name is Nina Strassner, and I'm delighted to talk about transformation today. Courage that you need to transform for the world with you inside, and to get interested in that. It's about shaping, controlling, and sometimes also just withstanding. So we all have relationships. As a legal lawyer with 10 years of experience, work relationship, that's something we can take for as a face value. So it's a relationship of giving and taking money for labor. If it were that easy, I don't think that my trade wouldn't be existing and I wouldn't be here today. There's also a very basic idea, a basic rule, rules in relationships, and that become a tradition. This is what really can be an essential part of relationship. So but a work relationship is also very emotional. It's not only about giving and taking, and if you don't take these into consideration, consideration what people
Dann
feel
auf dem Arbeitsgericht dann aufeinandertreffen,
and be in a
wenn die
labor court and
da
do not
ist
want to
schon
meet in a labor
viel zu
court,
spät.
then it's way too late. So
Das ganze Arbeitsverhältnis,
the whole working
deswegen sind wir heute
relationship, and I
irgendwie
think
auch
that's why you are all
fängt wie alle
here,
Beziehungen mit
starts
dem Herzen an.
with the heart,
Jemand
like all
entscheidet
relationships. So someone decides
und Sie entscheiden sich für
for
die
you
oder
and you
diejenige.
decide for the other
Die
person.
Verantwortung, die damit
And
einhergeht, die kann man
responsibility
eigentlich gar nicht
goes
genug
with it,
hängen.
and it's very important. You can't stress that
Auch
enough.
hier, und ich werde diese Dating- und Partnerbörsen
Dating
heute
and
noch ein paar Mal bringen.
partner apps, I will talk about them
Partnerbörsen
too.
sind eigentlich so
So
Stellenanzeigen gar nicht
these
unähnlich.
are very
Wir wissen ja
close
schon,
to
was wir
these
können. Wir wissen,
traditional
was
job
wir machen wollen.
advertisements. So
Wir
we
müssen uns
do
jetzt
know
nur
what we
dafür
want to do,
entscheiden,
what we want to
wen wir
have.
die Dinge, die
But we
wir
only need to
können,
decide who we want to join
gemeinsam machen wollen.
and what we want
Sie
to do
entscheiden sich
together
mit
with
wem und mit
others. So
welchem
you decide on
Sie
the
arbeiten
people,
wollen.
on the surroundings, where you want to work.
Dafür ist dann Voraussetzung, dass alle
There
klar
are
und
certain
transparent
prerequisites
und
with
ehrlich
it.
sagen
Everybody
können, wer
needs
sie
to be
sind.
transparent
Beide Seiten.
in their
Ja, im Dating
own
auch.
character.
Man kann zwar alles fragen,
So
aber
dating,
man
it's the
kann
same.
nicht
You can ask everything, but you can't know
Beide Seiten
everything.
entscheiden,
So
wer
both
sie sein
sides
wollen,
decide
und sie müssen
who
auch
they
was
want to
sagen
be,
können und
and they need to
sagen
be able to express that.
so
And
dass
to be
alle
allowed to
ohne
express
Angst vor
that, so that we are not allowed
sein können,
of
wer sie sind.
not afraid of
Die
disadvantages.
Geschichte der Arbeitsverhältnisse
So
und
the
damit
story of work
die Zukunft
relationships and the
unserer
future
Arbeit
of our work.
steht und fällt damit, wie sehr wir uns umeinander kümmern.
The foundation of it is how we
definieren uns
care about each
über
other.
unseren Beruf.
We define via our job.
Wenn Sie sich mal vorstellen müssen in einer
So
Runde, Sie alle
imagine,
kennen das, man trifft das erste
You
Mal
know that
aufeinander,
situation.
erzählen Sie
You
uns doch mal ein
meet
bisschen was
with
über
other
sich.
people, everybody talks
meisten
about
Menschen
themselves.
erwähnen
Most
das erst,
people
dass sie beruflich
will
machen.
start with
so sehr
talking about their
unsere
jobs.
Identität. Wenn Sie es mal
That's
anders machen wollen,
that's
versuchen Sie das mal.
such a defining
Erzählen Sie
character
mir was
on
über
our
sich, in Ihrem Beruf
person.
zu
So
erwähnen, dann
please
wissen Sie auch, was derjenige wirklich
try to
zur
understand
Arbeit
that
mitbringt.
when you talk about yourselves, you will always mention your job,
Ich
one of
spreche
the
heute
job,
zu Ihnen
as one of the
als,
first things. So
Global
today,
Head of People
I talk to you
Initiatives.
as the global head of
Schwäbischen
global
Wurzeln.
initiatives with
Das bringt
Swabian
zumindest
roots.
noch, bis meine Nachfolge
Still,
geregelt ist,
until
auch
my
Head of
successor is
Diversity für die SAP
in
für
place, I'm also
26.000
working for
verantwortlich
SAP,
gewesen in diesem Bereich
had been
und habe
responsible for
damit eigentlich den
26,000 people,
Berufswunsch
so
verwirklicht, den
I
viele
have
junge Absolventen
achieved
und
what
Absolventinnen
many
haben.
graduates,
Ich
young
möchte was mit
graduates want to
Menschen
have. They want to deal with people,
mache
they
ich
want to work with
tatsächlich
people. I do
im
work with
wahrsten aller
people
Sinne den
in
ganzen
the
Menschen das
most honest sense. So talking with people,
ausmacht,
learning what
das, was
they
sie sind,
what
was sie
drives
werden
them, what
wollen,
they
das ist
understand,
mein
what they want to
Aufgabengebiet bei
become.
SAP.
That's my
Gemeinsam mit
task
meinem Team.
at SAP, together
Wie
with
ich
my
mich
team.
konkret stelle, dazu
And how do I
kommen wir gleich
tackle
noch.
that? I will talk about this in a minute.
Ja. Wann haben mein Team und ich
So my team and
eigentlich einen
I,
guten Job gemacht?
we have
Was
done a
ist
great
unser
job, but
KPI?
when was that? So what was our
Ich
KPI?
habe dann einen guten
Well,
Job gemacht,
I think
wenn
I
unsere
have done a great job if our
überall auf der Welt wissen, wo
bosses
sie sich überall kümmern
know
können.
where they can
Wo überall
take care.
Punkte sind, an denen
So
sie ansetzen
where there are
können und vor allem,
points
wie
where
sie
they
das
can
kommunizieren
start
kriegen. Wie
and
kriegen
how
sie
they
das
can
auf die
communicate
Straße?
tackling things and
Damit sind ganz
how to
knackig
implement
bei
that.
SAP
So
alle
at
betroffen.
SAP,
Alle
everybody is
Mitarbeiterinnen bei
involved.
uns.
Every
Warum machen
single
wir
staff
das?
member
Wir
is
möchten,
involved.
dass
And
sie
why
gerne
do we do
bei uns
that?
arbeiten.
We want
Wir
them
möchten, dass
to
sie nicht zur
like
Konkurrenz
working
gehen.
for
Wir
SAP.
möchten,
We don't want
dass
them
es
to
allen
go to the
erzählen, wie gut ihnen
competitors.
dort geht, damit die
They
dann
want,
auch
they should
arbeiten.
understand that
Von
how
daher,
good
keep
they
it
have it
simple,
here. So it's
einfach
all about keep
gesprochen,
it simple.
aber nicht einfach gedacht.
But it's not thought in a simple way.
Ja, genau. Es macht also bei uns als Business Case
So,
unheimlich Sinn, wenn
in
wir
our
uns
business
um die
case, it's very
Kultur
sensible
kümmern,
to
ne?
deal
Weiterhin.
with culture, to
Irgendwas
care
ist
about the
immer.
culture,
Wir
because there's
arbeiten in
always
einem
something.
globalen
We
Jobmarkt.
work in a global
Sie auch.
job
Das
market.
ist eine
You do
riesengroße
that too.
Herausforderung für
It's
uns alle.
is entailing
Man kann
large
heutzutage in
challenges.
Dresden, in
So days you
Krakau,
can
in
be in
Wien sitzen
Dresden,
und
Krakow,
in
or
Berlin
in
Software
Vienna
programmieren.
and program
Die
software.
Pandemie hat das alles
But
nochmal
the pandemic has boosted these
Wir
developments.
werden nicht immer alle Gehälter zahlen
So
können, die
we will not be
heutzutage
able
für
to
Top-Talente bezahlt werden.
pay all the salaries that
Irgendjemand zahlt
top
immer mehr.
people are deserving.
Auch wenn
There's
wir
always
nicht
someone who
alle
pays
Chancen
more.
bieten können,
And not
die sich
all
ein Individuum in
opportunities
einem Moment
that one
vorstellt. Der nächste
individual
Schritt ist
person
manchmal
can
auch
imagine,
einfach
we cannot
woanders
provide
hin.
that. So
Und diese
some
beiden
people
Gründe sind die,
strive towards other directions, and
auch am meisten genannt
sometimes
werden.
they
Und ich
are
glaube auch, der
those
jeder
that
von Ihnen,
we
jeder von
hear
Ihnen,
about
die
the
das so
most.
hören, vielleicht in Ihrem
And
Herzen
sometimes
finden.
you find these
Solange man nicht
answers
lebt,
in your
weil man
heart
sich
too.
nicht
So
wohlfühlt,
as long as you
wo man
don't
ist
feel
oder war,
comfortable
dann haben
where
wir
you
einen
were
guten
or
Job
where you
gemacht.
are, we
Wir sind
have
ganz
done
zufrieden
a
und
great
bei
job. So we are
SAP
quite
globale
satisfied.
Retention
We
Rate,
have a
das
global
von
retention
7%.
rate of 7% at
Wir hören
SAP,
relativ selten,
and
dass jemand geht, weil
we
er
rarely
sich nicht
hear
wohlgefühlt
that
hat
people
bei uns.
left because they
Auch hier
didn't
findet
feel
sich eine
comfortable.
gute Analogie zu
So
Dating. Ich habe
here we
schon
see some
angekündigt.
analogies, some parallels to
Warum
dating.
verlassen eigentlich
Why do
Menschen
people leave
die Orte oder auch die
places or partners
zusammen sind und
that they
manchmal
are
bleiben
together,
sie auch
who they are
bleiben.
together with, and sometimes they stay, sometimes it's a fundamental change. One of them wants kids, the other doesn't, the the other wants to live in a rural place, the other doesn't. So if SAP someone wants to become a pilot or something else, we will stop them. So maybe we will try to find other projects where they can fulfill these desires, but these are good reasons.
Gibt es aber auch diese viel diffizileren Sachen.
However, there are things that are more difficult. For example, am I wanted? Do I feel listened in my relations? Can I become the person that I want to become?
Das Gras ist ja oft grüner auf der anderen Seite.
Sometimes the grass is greener on the other side, so you look to the left, you look to the right. People are nice, are beautiful, are fantastic. But if we feel comfortable well where we are, then we will stay there. If we don't feel well, we jump, we go somewhere else.
Diese diffizilen Unterschiede.
So these are difficult
Darum müssen wir uns ganz
differences between people, and this is something we need to take care of. Is when you say who we are, what we stand for, and if our staff members can do the same thing, we come forward. If leaderships don't have flaws, then no one can actually relate to them. So leaders that do not have flaws, they are exchangeable. So you cannot engage with someone who doesn't have flaws. So it's all about entering into dialogue. You know this from different types of relationships. That's always difficult and takes courage. Take it like it is. That's a credo of SAP, has been for quite a few years. So I'm responsible for driving this idea and to create the structures that we need.
Diese berühmte Work-Life Balance.
Work-life balance, which is very famous. So maybe you thought, well, this diversity, women will now speak about the way to juggle with 3 things at once: private life, working life. Let me tell you, this doesn't work. If your work doesn't feel like life, then we have made a bad job. Not us and not our employers. So the structures need to be adapted to the people. We don't need to adapt the people to the structures. Stop fixing the people. Fix the system.
Wandel,
Change.
immer mit sich bringt, der muss möglich
That's always part of life. Needs to be possible. So our first breath until our last breath, we are currently changing. We reinvent ourselves, we learn new things. Sometimes life forces us to changes. Sometimes we let ourselves be forced. If you think of different stations in your life where there was change, it was always connected, or often very connected to courage. Sometimes your heart beats faster, maybe because you look forward to something, or if you're nervous. So the next time you have a stage fright, well, remember that feeling. It's nothing than having respect for the audience, and you have that in many different occasions. For example, when meeting the client for the first time, or staff meetings. There's also a different business case which drives us, our customer. We are selling software, we also need to earn money with the things we do. 87% of our trade volume is generated by SAP customers. So if you're not interested in people, and if you're not taking care of people,
und wer nicht unbedingt etwas machen will, was Menschen brauchen und was
and if you don't want to do things for people that they want and need, you will do all sorts of things, but not good software. So change, what does it need? Courage to be interested. And in reality, that's quite frightening. It's a bit scary. Why is that? Because you learn how little you know when you start learning. It's way more comfortable if you're not interested in something. We know this. You have these topics that you just don't care about. You're not angry about them. You don't scream when going to bed. So you will not influence them, these things, at the same time. So you are always responsible for your own luck and happiness. So when someone says you that, well, maybe you can think about that and say, well, maybe this person is not interested in your topic. So I never like this sentence.
mit sich bringt, wenn man sein Glück.
There's a certain connotations if you want to forge your own destiny, your own happiness. Transformation, I think I said this word, or I heard this word 94 times. It's a buzzword for change in business, and we could all just stop now and start drinking a beer if there wasn't a storm outside, a storm warning. I did not order this storm, but change is there. It has always been around. Our whole evolutionary being is based, or is one large experiment to improve flora and fauna.
Angst, nicht perfekt zu sein.
The fear of not being afraid is something that nature doesn't have. So let's take this as an example for ourselves. So my first advice would be this. Try to learn and to have the courage to be really bad if you start with something new. I think that's an integral part of transformation. Don't be angry about the mistakes you made, but change the perspective in that moment of time. Be happy about this mistake and be happy that you learned about this mistake at the very early stage. So humanity has always changed. The latest when the wheel was invented. So the wheel in the human history is the most breakthrough invention you could think of. But you might also think about fire or other inventions, and of course they are also important, but the wheel is different. It's something that is not occurring in nature as a means of transport. So think about that. Millions of years of evolution in nature has not a single organism, not a single being made that has something on an axis with two wheels and is moving forward in a linear way. This is something we have done, and this is quite impressive. So you should even order a second beer to just think about this fact. So the humanity has, for the first time, taken something from nature and reinvented something, did something which was fundamentally new, and this has changed structures. This is the idea of transformation, to have the things that are there and to reinvent them in a way that they are new. Sometimes this is the starting point for transformation, but sometimes this is also a consequence, because you have the transformation sometimes and cannot get out of this transformation. So innovation is nothing else than the hope for something to become better. Boy Flutter said this once, it's not my sentence, but those who hope are courageous. And if you check our attitude towards new things, then let's be honest, and honesty is something we need, and honesty needs courage too, and you know this. Transformation is often caused by a shocking event, not like a storm or a pandemic or a meteorite, a meteor hitting Earth, but it can be also small things, for example the wheel or the internet. An occasion, using it as to identify it as a shocking thing, well, it's difficult to assess that. Now, the internet will never take a foot. This is what Matthias Horst said, I think in '96 or so, just recently. He said, contrary to the simple telephone or the radio with 3 buttons, the World Wide Web is more than ever a very complicated matter.
Ja, unsere Welt geht durch das
But our world is moving forward through the internet and has become less complicated indeed. I think we can all agree on that. It has simplified many things, but there's another aspect to consider. It has become more complex. So it's more difficult to realize these difficult events. So open Twitter, open the news, and you see there are copious things you might say, oh my God, solve this problem, this will be a fundamental change.
Wenn wir uns dieser Situation ausliefern,
so when we try to encounter the situation without shaping it, then we have reached the greatest rumor. Time will not mend it. Time will simply move forward. So if you are not with...
Das ist leider auch nicht von mir, das ist von Stromberg.
If you don't deal with the things that happen in time, then time will move on. So this is also an interesting quote. So what can we do in this situation? Try to tackle the problems. Try to deal with the enemy. Do a tango with the elephant in the room.
Na? Nur wenn man sich Kritikern stellt,
only if you face your critics, if you face the critics open-minded, those who make your life difficult, then this is how to drive transformation forward and innovation forward. If you have always read what confirms your opinion, if you only deal with things that are already working, they can just stay at home in terms of innovation and transformation. So it's just about being in a box boxcar, which means you maybe hit something, there is some feedback, sometimes it hurts. However, you need to deal with that and tackle that, because these are the moments that you know, this is where your heart starts beating faster. Now, those who want change and those who want to change something need to deal with criticism. And you see, well, at the end, you will have more work to be done, to deal with. You need to deal with the spirits that we are calling in this regard. If you don't want that, well, you are not the leader or the expert that will, or who will lead us into the future. This might hurt. However, this is something we need to accept. So deal with the echo.
Dass man alles lösen kann.
It's not about being able to solve everything.
Man muss es nur anerkennen.
It's all about acknowledging it, to hear it, to listen to it, and then take a decision. Make a decision. We always need to make decisions, but we make decisions that are more informed.
Und Konsens. Wenn Sie sich jetzt überlegen,
When you think of a consensus,
unmöglich Konsens
well, we
herstellen.
cannot have a consensus with all these different effects. So consensus is not the target. It's all about being informed, listen to everything, and then being able to make a better decision. So we want to listen to more voices, not fewer. So this is diversity in a nutshell. This will maybe slow down our decisions. However, at the end, they are better.
Wie man das macht,
How can we do that?
sprechen Sie offen und ehrlich über das,
Be open-minded and honest and address the painful matters. Take out the taboos
Tabus
at the
hassen es,
workplace.
wenn man über sie spricht.
Hating taboos is when you talk about them. So break the taboos. So taboos I talk about are not those
Heute mehr sagen oder diese
which concern, yeah, you're not allowed to say that and this and all these difficult things. This is
Meinung zu haben,
all about having an opinion.
ist letztlich nicht schwer.
To have an opinion is not difficult, but to know your matter is
Wenn man sich
more
weiterhin
difficult.
immer nur selber
So
zuhören möchte,
if you only want to listen to yourself and deduct from that, well, there is a right to be not to be criticized or
dann wird
corrected,
das auch in
well,
einer Zukunft und gerade
this will end up
bei
in a
vielen
different future,
Aufgaben, die uns jetzt
especially with the tasks that I had.
nicht funktionieren.
This will not
Es gibt
work.
so viele Tabus, die das
There are many
Wohlbefinden von
taboos
Menschen
that have an impact on the well-being of people.
letztlich eigentlich überall.
They are everywhere, basically.
Jedes einzelne Tabu,
Every single taboo that is around and that you haven't faced yet is a privilege.
deswegen trauen Sie sich tatsächlich
So dare.
an Ihre eigenen Privilegien
Dare to reflect on your own privileges.
geschenkt worden.
They were just given to you.
Und es ist überhaupt kein Grund, sich dafür
And
zu
it's no reason to be ashamed of.
Sie haben hart dafür gearbeitet.
You were hard working for being the way you are. We are all working very hard, but some people work harder. So dare to have a look where you had privileges, where you were having an advantage, where you were not facing taboos. Acknowledge that, respect that,
Und dann kümmern Sie sich um jemanden,
and then deal
der dieses
with someone who
Privileg nicht hat,
does not
dieses Tabu.
have or did not have this
Provozieren Sie
privilege.
Coming-outs.
Provoke these
Provozieren Sie
coming outs. Provoke these dialogues.
Trauer,
Sadness,
Verlust,
addiction,
körperliche
loss,
Beeinträchtigung, Einsamkeit, Wechseljahre,
maybe loneliness, divorces,
Depressionen, Armut,
burnout, depressions,
Homosexualität,
homosexuality,
Gewalt, Aggression,
violence,
Rassismus,
aggression, racism, hate,
you name it.
you name it.
Tabus, die Realität sind, das sind die,
Taboos that are reality. Those are the ones we need to tackle. They have an impact on people and they need care.
Werden Sie ein Ally.
Become an ally.
Förderer. Mentoring, das haben Sie sicherlich auch schon oft gehört.
Mentoring, maybe you heard about
Das
this.
ist nicht dazu gedacht, so ein
It's
orchestriertes
Not about an orchestrated explaining of the world. Mentoring means
mitzuziehen,
to,
Platz zu machen, jemanden
pull, to help, to support, to join hands, to be an
Das
advocate.
passiert schon immer,
This has always been happening everywhere
schon seit langer Zeit. Jedoch war
for quite a long time. However, for a very long time, it was only there for qualified people, for privileged people.
mit Menschen, die
We
uns
like
ähnlich
prefer to do this with people that are similar to us. Dare to care means to do this with someone who is completely different.
Jemand, der ganz anders denkt, jemand,
someone who thinks completely different and views the world completely different. And you can even try this,
woran merken
just
Sie aber, dass
starting
jemand
tomorrow.
anders ist
But how do you realize that someone is really different?
Geschlecht oder
Maybe a different sex,
Hautfarbe
different
oder auch
skin
ein
color,
anderes Alter?
or maybe a different age.
Das ist schon mal ein ganz guter Startpunkt.
That's
aber
a
das
very
ist
good
eigentlich
starting
nicht das
point,
alleinige
but that's
Kriterium.
not the single
Finden Sie sich
criteria.
vielleicht relativ schnell in dieser
Because you might find
meine Frau
yourself
findet das auch oder
in these situations where you say, oh, my wife thinks so too, and I have this guy, I have this friend who's black and he thinks so too, or my 15-year-old son or daughter, they are also agreeing with me.
denken Sie mal, wir machen mal eine kleine Übung.
Let's have a short exercise and think about it. Think of the last situation where you had a discussion with someone who was fundamentally of a different opinion than you.
Das war sau anstrengend. In der Pandemie hat das so ein
In the
bisschen
pandemic, I think
an die Zeiten davor
it was a bit less, but when you think of the times where you were with people and at a large table with your friends and you were really having a fight and that you excuse yourself, apologize the next day, but you saw where the issue was.
beiden, also es ist eine soziologische Konstante tatsächlich, unsere beiden
So,
spontanen Reaktionen
our
darauf, wenn jemand
first
fundamental
reactions,
anderer Meinung ist
if
immer gleich.
someone is fundamentally of a different opinion, are twofold.
Keine Ahnung.
First, they
Einfach noch nicht
is
informiert genug,
you think, well,
einfach noch
they
nicht
have no
weiter
idea.
informiert.
They just need to be informed, more informed, because I know more about this
Wenn
topic.
es das nicht ist,
If it's not this,
dann ist es
well,
das ist halt einfach zu blöd.
it's the other thing. They are just too stupid. They are just too stupid to understand. And then we
Reaktionen, wenn uns bei Themen, die uns wichtig sind, jemand
depreciate people. And these are the things that
was passiert denn,
make
wenn
us
wir mal
react
offen
like
damit
this. So
umgehen?
what happens if we stay open-minded? That it could be that people
Schlau sind wie wir
can be just as smart as us, so at least not dumb.
und auch informiert.
So just as smart and just as informed as we are. So if you have this in mind, you will automatically have made a great contributions for diversity, and you will benefit from this because it's always worth asking these questions. What is my benefit from this?
Lernen
You will learn faster than others.
im Augenblick viel
At this
schneller.
point of time, you will move forward quicker.
Provozieren Sie.
So provoke.
Wenn man nicht provoziert,
If you don't provoke,
sich selbst und den Status,
if you don't provoke yourself and status quo, if you don't challenge these ideas, you will not move
wenn
forward.
man provoziert, dann muss man
If
sich
you
aber halt
provoke,
auch
you
darum kümmern.
will
Dann
have
hat
to
man Grenzen
deal with that later. You have shifted some borders, maybe,
vielleicht nicht unbedingt da wieder
and
aufgebaut, wo sie
maybe they will
vorher
also
waren,
not
denn
end
dann
up where
werden
they
sie
were.
anders wieder
And if so,
aufgebaut. Sie haben
they will
auf
be
jeden
different. So
Fall
in
etwas bewegt.
any case, you have moved
Und
something.
verabschieden Sie sich davon, dass es
And say
einfache
goodbye to the
Antworten auf
idea that there
komplexe
are simple
Fragen gibt.
answers to complex
Haben Sie keine
questions.
Angst davor,
Don't
eine
be afraid
Antwort
to look or to not know an answer. If you
Lernen
provoked,
Sie, die richtigen Fragen zu
then you
stellen
know how to ask the right questions.
und vielleicht auch zu ahnen, welche
And to have an
Frage als
idea
nächstes kommt.
what the next question might be.
So Quick Wins, so schnelle
Quick wins,
Konzepte, wenn man irgendwas Neues
concepts,
einführt, das
when
ist
you
schon in
introduce
Ordnung.
some new things, well,
Ja,
that
aber
might be
genau
okay.
da darf man dann nicht aufhören.
But
Dann kommt
you
erst
mustn't
die
stop
Arbeit, dann
there.
fängt das Kümmern
This is
eigentlich
where the
erst an.
taking
So
care
eine
starts.
Transformation, so ein Wandel.
This is how transformation shifts. Cultural transformation is something you need to invest a lot of work capacities into. So we could just stand here and wait for tomorrow.
Das ist auch durchaus ein Lebenskonzept.
That's also a legitimate way of life. Carpe diem.
Tag.
Enjoy the day.
Ich fand persönlich, das war schon
I personally think that was BS before
aber trotzdem
it was established. However,
müssen wir uns natürlich die Sinnfrage
we
stellen.
need to ask these questions
nicht mehr
about the
ausschließlich, what's in
whole
it for
meaning.
me? Was
But
ist
what's
mein
in it for me at the end of the day? What's
Sondern was
my
ist vielleicht auch
purpose?
das,
That's the wrong question.
allen nutzt.
This might something that can be beneficial.
eigenen
If you only focus on your own
mit diesen Herausforderungen in
purpose,
dieser komplexen Welt.
they will not be able to meet these challenges in this complex world.
Also nochmal die Sinnfrage.
So let me repeat this. So the question,
Wir uns in dem Moment schon überlegen, was
large question about the purpose, this is something to bear in mind. So you need to focus on those and become those
40 Stunden
who
ihrer
are not
Lebenszeit,
just spending 40 hours of their day, of their weeks, and in order to achieve, to earn money. A candy bar or a fruit basket will not be helpful either. Focus on those who want to take care too. People who dare to care.
Wenn Sie sich nicht um die Menschen kümmern, mit denen
If you don't deal with the people that you are working with and you're working for and that who work for you, why should they care for you then? So purpose
was allen
is
nutzt. Und wenn Sie dann eine
what is the benefit for everybody, and if you have motivation from that, that's totally fine.
Do one thing every day.
Do one thing every day that scares you.
Das hat Baz Luhrmann gesungen.
Baz Luhrmann sang this in a absolutely epic song. It's called Wear Sunscreen, so do have a listen this evening and read the lyrics.
Haben Sie keine Angst
Don't be afraid
vor der Angst.
for,
Manchmal ist dieses komische Gefühl im Bauch vielleicht auch einfach nur Hunger.
of being scared. Sometimes this weird feeling in your gut is just
Hören Sie um
hunger.
Gottes Willen auf, gegen
And
den
stop
Strom zu schwimmen.
to go against the flow. It takes way too much effort, and you will just go there where the people already started or where they're coming from. Learn to be swimming more effectively. Go to the coast, deviate the flow, or do a flow out of the flow. So go to the coast, don't go to the shores. Look at those who look a bit different in paddling. Talk to those people.
Erkennen Sie die Zusammenhänge?
Understand the interconnectivity, and then jump into the water again.
Flügel der Transformation ist Mut.
So transformation can be helpful with this, with swimming. So do this with passion.
Kümmern Sie sich
Take care
mit allem.
with everything you have.
Und ich gebe Ihnen dafür heute ein
And today
virtuelles Herz
I
Ass.
will give you a virtual
Dare to care. Today
Ace
for
Heart.
tomorrow. Dankeschön.
Thank you.
Vielen herzlichen Dank, Nina Strassner. Vielen herzlichen Dank.
Thank
Viel
you
Spaß
very
noch auf
much,
dem
Nina
MHP
Strassner.
Festival. Und hier gibt es eine kurze
MHP
Umbaupause.
Festival.
In
Have a
knapp
short
10 Minuten geht es hier weiter mit dem
break
nächsten
to
Panel.
prepare the stage. In 10 minutes, the next panel is going to start. I think a QR code should also be
Wer hat schon 5?
shown here. Who has already collected tokens? Who has already 5 tokens? 5, 6, I see.
Wer hat versucht,
So
durch ein geheimes System
tried
irgendwelche Tokens zu tauschen?
to change and switch tokens through a simple system or secret system? Well, it's not that simple. So we are going to continue shortly with our next panel, and also in the cubes there will be more speeches to talk, hear and listen to. Thank you very much.